Hey there, nation. Welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and now it's time for another edition of Tales from the Underhive. This is Nick Ramunda Battle Report number 26. It is a gang fight scenario that's fought between my two friends, Warlord Ace with 911, his House Van Sar gang, versus my buddy, Brother Grim of the Pelagos Land Kings of House Goliath. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, these two rivals are going to be throwing it down again, once again, with a new updated list for both their gangs. Both these players have actually played other Brit battles outside of the actual campaign they're running here for my channel. They played this back at the game store, so their gangs are a little bit larger than they were last time. They also got some advancements to them, so sorry I didn't take photos of those. That was at a tournament and I just couldn't make it at that time. So because of that, we're going to be talking about their new updated gang real quick. We're going to show you some pictures of these gangs at the same time. So without any further ado, we're just going to play some background music, show you the gangs and their rosters. If you want to take a closer look, feel free to pause. Alright, you guys, let's make it happen. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the combat zone. As you can see, both my friends are fighting a 4x4 table. We got a sludge river kind of right down the middle of the table. They're actually fighting on the very far left and far right hand corners of the table edges, so they'll be fighting against each other kind of perpendicular to where the camera's located at. My buddy Brother Grim set up his army on the left hand side, and my buddy Warlord Ace set up his army on the right hand side. And so this is where both of those gangs are deployed. It's a standard, just good old fashioned gang fight. These two guys are going to be throwing it down until one gang bottles it out. So be actually kind of interesting to see exactly how this one works. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the individual deployment areas for this one. Alright, first of all, let's go and start with Warlord Ace's House Van Sar gang 911. Starting here on the left-hand side, he's got his little group of pit slaves. He's got Plunkett, McLean, as well as Eddie Chance. Those three guys are kind of taking point. And right behind them, of course, is his flamer-wielding ganger. That guy's name is Mega Man. And right next to him, of course, is another one named Swayze. That guy's carrying a bolt gun. And he's also kind of occupying here on the left-hand side. So that makes the deployment on this side. And located right in the center is where most of his gang is located at. Starting from the top, of course, and working our way back, we got Busta 9, that's their leader. Followed by, who else is there? Swayze, Tugs, as well as Sojax. We also got Tough Shakes located there as well as a squad of Jews. We have FNG, Hollows, as well as Grim. And so those guys kind of make a little assault team there in the center. And finally, make up his far right-hand flank, he's got his heavy, that's Chopper, that guy's armed with the heavy stubber. And then right behind him, he's actually got a couple of members of his gang located here on the right-hand side. That's Moloko, that guy's armed with the Auto Slugger, as well as, what's the guy's name real quick? Let me look at the list here. Oh, and Nero, that guy's also armed with the Auto Slugger as well. Interesting little fact about 911, since their last game, they have actually increased their skills for a lot of the members of the gang. They have like 4 specialists in this gang. So they have like one guy who carries an Auto Slugger, 3 guys carry Auto Sluggers, the leader also carries an Auto Slugger as well. Another guy carries a flamer. So even though you can only have 2 heavies per gang, this gang is actually carrying a lot of special weapons. So it's a very shooty kind of gang, which makes sense because they're Van Sar. So with deployment out of the way, we go directly to the House Goliath deployment. All right, starting here on the right-hand side, here on the very bottom of the deployment center, we have a couple of close combat members. We got Trip the Shrimp, who's the Juve in this gang for the Pelagos Land Kings. He's kind of taking point. Right next to him on his right-hand side, that's Rager. That's the gang who's armed with a shotgun, and fall right behind them, of course, is the Whack-A-Mole. That guy's armed with a massive maul and auto pistol, and then right behind both of them is Flesh Stick. That guy's cracking a massive maul as well as a stub gun with dum-dum bullets. That guy's also got the body slam skill, so he's pretty deadly in combat. So that will make up the deployment here on the far bottom. And our center deployment here, we have a couple of members of the gang make up of the third assault element. Pretty much Brother Grimm divided up his gang into three groups of four. Taking port, of course, we have Craze. That's the ganger who's armed with a bolt gun. And right behind him, we have Crank, which is one of the newer additions to this gang. That guy's also carrying a bolt gun as well. And on flanking on either side is Porter as well as Gage. Those are the two guys who are armed with auto guns and frag grenades as well. They also got a whole set of skill. Porter, for example, he gets a berserker charge and horrible scars. So that guy's really deadly in close combat as well. So that will make up the deployment here in the center. And occupying this ruined office building, we have the leader Blitzkrieg Bob, followed by Scalp Taker. That's the guy who's located right beneath him. That's a new addition to the gang as well. That guy's armed with the last gun, as well as massive maul and knife. Right after them, we have the Headhunter. That guy's armed with the last gun, as well as a hot shot power pack. And finally, we have their heavy, which his name is Stuka. That guy's armed with a heavy stubber, as well as an auto pistol as well. And plus, he has marksman skills, so that makes him exceptionally deadly at shooting as another bonus. So that'll make up deployment for the Pelagos Land Kings. With that being said, we throw directly to the top of turn number 1. Alright, both my friends roll for initiative, and Warlord Ace wins the initiative on this one, so because that he'll be going first. And as you can see, this is the photo taken after the movement phase for House Van Sar. Pretty much the entire gang just advances as quickly as they possibly can, climbing up into the bridges sections, as well as moving across the table to get to the other side of that sludge river, because I want to kind of engage in and get in close combat, as well as be able to get in some shots as well. So that pretty much makes up the movement phase on this one. Alright, as you can see, here's a close-up of the Pit Slaves. They kind of nicknamed the Road Crew. Those are the 3 Pit Slaves that are kind of taking point there to assault across the river. On the other side of him, of course, you have Mega Man. That guy's armed with a Flamer, so that's one of the guys who's got the specialist skill as well, kind of a deadlier member. He used to be a Juve and got promoted up to a Ganger, actually. And on the left-hand side, you got Soljax. That guy's got his weaponsmith skill as well as a bolt gun as well. He's kind of occupying that on the left-hand side. So that makes the close-up of this one. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. The last guy who was back there, that was Swayze was his name. Up here on the top, we have Soljax as well as Tugs. I apologize for that. At the top there, you also got Bussin9 as well. These 3 gang members, they basically just climbed up as quick as they possibly could on the top of this structure, so they spent the entire phase running in order to get to that location. Makes sense because these guys need to want to be in an elevated position to do some shooting. Meanwhile, in the center, we have the 3 Juves, FNG, Hallows, as well as Grimm being led by Tough Shakes. They're kind of heading up assault positions right there in the middle as well. So you can see in that little icon there, they also ran. And at the very top of the board, we have the crew that's armed with auto sluggers as well as heavy stubber. We got Chopper as well as Moloko and Nero. All they did is basically move to 4 inches, so that way they can get into good shooting positions to start opening up at the Goliaths at their leisure. So with moving out of the way, we go directly to shooting. And as you can see right off the bat, things are not looking good for the Pelagos Land Kings right in the opening round. Between the shots between all 3 of those 2 guys armed with sluggers, as well as heavy stubber, they managed to put 3 of the Pelagos Land Kings down. On the right hand side, you got Porter. That's the guy who's got the little helmet as well as the auto gun. He's just down for the count right now, so he's not out. He's not out of action yet. Same thing with Craze. They managed to put him down as well. However, on the left hand side, as you can see, we got Porter. Sorry, not Porter. That guy's Gage. That guy's arm also gets out of action as well. So we got a little skull icon next to him, and all by himself is a new guy, Crank. That's the latest member of the gang. He's just kind of standing there like looking at his friends being, shot down from all that heavy weapons fire from the top of the table. Luckily for him, though, Crank did pass his panic test, so he just kind of stays where he is right now. At the same time, though, with these 3 guys being down already, this game could already end before the game even started, because now Brother Grimm has taken enough guys' losses in order to do a bottle test. So things are not looking very good for the Pelagos Land Kings. And luckily for Brother Grimm, when he rolled on his leadership test, he rolled a 7, which is 1 point less than needed in order to fail his bottle roll test, so the game continues going. So as you can see here from this photo is taken directly after the movement phase. Pretty much, he runs up a couple of his members of his gang of 4 towards that barbed wire fence there. Those were primarily the guys who used to be Juves. That's Trip the Shrimp, as well as Whack-A-Mole, as well as Rager and Flesh Stick. They're kind of taking cover positions behind that barbed wire, so that way they can shoot as well. As you can see there next to them, they got a little running icon to represent that. At the same time, he also ran up Crank up into the that little MCI Chemical Works tower there to take cover, and the rest of the gang members on the left-hand side occupy shooting positions in the office building. Alright, so here's a close-up of Rager, Trip the Shrimp, Whack-A-Mole, as well as Flesh Stick taking positions behind the barbed wire. They ran this turn, so they will not be able to shoot. However, they finally get themselves into cover, so they're about being shot at too badly. At the same time, Crank, he just kind of hailing on at this point. He just ran up to this MCI Chemical Works tower and ran up as quickly as possible, trying to take cover away from those shots raining down from those three shooters on the bridge there. And at the same time, the left-hand side of Brother Grimm's gang also runs as well. You have it's the Scalp Taker, Headhunter, as well as the Headhunter, as well as Blitzkrieg Bob. What they do is they run up to the second floor and then run another 4 inches, so that way they can take cover positions next to those windows, so they can start shooting on the next turn. At the same time, Stuka, though, he takes up all 8 of his inches to run up to the very 3rd floor, so that way he could just start taking occupied fighting position from there on his next turn as well. And since pretty much everybody ran, there is no shooting, we skip combat because there isn't any, and we go directly into the recovery phase. And luckily for Brother Grimm, Porter, he manages to get back up with the flesh wound, so now he has -1 to his ballistic skill, as well as his weapon skill for the rest of the game. Craze, on the other hand, he's still down and out, so because of that, he doesn't have to worry about taking any more bottle roll checks unless someone else goes down on the next turn. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Van Saar. Alright, and so this is the top of turn number 2 for the Van Saar after movement. As you can see, once again, my buddy Warlord Ace, he just sends his guys as quickly as he possibly can across the field, running a lot of the members of his gang across that sludge river, so that way they can take up occupied fighting positions at the side, so that way they can start engaging the Goliaths. At the same time, he has his Overwatch team just move up 4 inches as always, heading up to those cover positions on those walkways to kind of cross the sludge river on the top, and that way they can take occupied fighting positions and start shooting at the Goliaths from their locations. Here's a close-up of the road crew. They just sent up Eddie Chance. They just ran him as quickly as he possibly could across that sludge river, while the rest of the gang just kind of moves up kind of conservatively. You have the 2 pit slaves, what's their names? Crank, sorry, not Crank, McLean at Pluckett and McLean. They just kind of take up their positions down the top of the little gantry there, so that way they can start shooting with their pistols. At the same time, though, you have the other 2 gang members. You have Swayze, Swayze is his name, as well as Mega Man. They kind of take occupied positions in the middle of the sludge river, so that way they don't get shot at by those Goliaths in the next turn. So that makes it the close-up on this one. Okay, on the very bottom gantry way, you can see Tug and Soldiers, as well as Busta 9. Those guys ran up to the edge of the 2 bridges, so that way they can take covered positions, start opening up on their next turn. And in the center, you have Tough Shakes, as well as the 3 Jews, FNG, Hallows, as well as Grimm. They're kind of like in a line formation, kind of located right there in the middle of the sludge river as well, taking cover positions so they don't get shot at the same time. And finally, at the top, you got Moloko, who's taking his position right there, maintaining where his distance at, so that we can start shooting with this heavy stubber. At the same time, though, Nero, as well as Moloko, those guys move up another 4 inches down to the lower level, so that way they can get closer and hopefully get better shots off on the Goliaths on their shooting phase. So that being said, with the movement done, we go directly to shooting phase. And during the shooting phase, McLean opens up with his plasma pistol. He goes with a big solid shot, and with a hotter shot on that one, manages to put down Whack-A-Mole, and not only that, also put that guy to action as well. So from this point onward, again, Brother Grimm's got to take panic tests as well. The rest of the members of his gang pass their panic tests. They don't have to worry about running away at this moment, so they're still looking good, but bottle rolls are going to be hurting my buddy here in a little bit. At the same time, Chopper, Moloko, as well as Nero, they opened up with their auto sluggers as well as heavy stubber. Unfortunately, they were unable to really secure any shots between the 2 guys packing auto sluggers. It was Chopper in the end who actually managed to put a wound onto Scalp Taker. Now, he did drop the guy, so the guy is down for right now, but he's not out of action, so he'll be able to recover from the next phase as well. And my buddy Brother Grimm has to start taking bottle roll tests. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Goliaths. Luckily for Brother Grimm, he does pass his bottle roll test, so because of that, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 after the movement phase for the Goliaths. As you can see in this photo, the Pelago Slam Kings, they just kind of rush forward as quickly as they possibly can, start engaging guys by charging and start engaging the enemy as quickly as possible, because if they just keep on standing back and try to trade shots with the Van Saar, they're just going to lose pretty badly. So that's pretty much what's going on in this photo. Here's a close-up of the action that's taking place on the bottom of the board. You can see that Rager's kind of located there, just getting ready to hold his Overwatch position, so that way he can start opening with his shotgun. At the same time, Trip the Shrimp as well as Fleshstick, they charge directly into Eddie Chance, so that way they can engage him in close combat. So that makes a movement here on the right-hand side. Here's a close-up of Crank climbing all the way to the top of the MCI Chemical Works, just trying to stay out of the way so that way he doesn't get shot, because things are not looking good for the Pelago Slam Kings. And here's a close-up of the rest of the Pelago Slam Kings occupying their current position next to these windows, and Stuka just moving up so that way he can get a better vantage point to start shooting. And finally, here's a close-up of Porter. He's just running as quickly as he possibly can towards the towards the 911, so that way they can start drawing their fire towards him, because we'll state that you have to shoot at the closest target, and he's kind of like taking one for the team to save the rest of the gang that's located in that office building. So that pretty much makes up the movement phase on this one. So then we go directly to shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, Rager takes aim with his shotgun. The only closest target that he can see is one of the pit slaves. So he takes aim at, oh, what's his name? That guy's name is Plunkett. That's the guy who's armed with a rock drill for a hand. He opens up with his solid slug, manages to hit him. Unfortunately, does nothing to actually wound him. So because of that guy's just pinned, so you can see him right there. He's got a little shield icon right next to him. So he's not really going to be going anywhere. Not going to really do much though, because within 2 inches of friends, and he can quickly pass his pitting test and just kind of, get out of there. However, during the shooting phase, the Pelagos Lambkings pulled off an amazing series of kills on this side here. As you can see here, first of all, Stuka, he's the guy who's the main man. He cut loose with his heavy stubber and inflicted 3 wounds. Not only did he only inflict 3 wounds, but he also managed to take out Moloko as well as Nira, put those guys down, as well as put him out of action. So you can see those 2 guys are with auto sluggers. They got the little skull icon next to them. The very last shot, of course, came from Blitzkrieg Bob. He opened up with his crack grenades on his grenade launcher, hit that, managed to hit Chop at the same time, as well as cause 4 wounds on him, and that actually put him down as well. But then the very last thing, of course, was the Headhunter. The Headhunter took a shot with his last gun, managed to put the very last wound on the Chopper as well, and also pushed him over the edge to make him go out of action as well. So you can see there are 3 members of the House Van Sar now down, and as well as out of action. So things are kind of looking up for a little bit for the Pelagos Lambkings. In the combat phase, however, things did not go according to plan for Brother Grimm. His Juve, Shrimp the Shrimp, got hit like 4 times, managed to put 4 wounds on him by Eddie Chance. And the reason why is because that guy's carrying 2 clipper shears for his hands. He was just lucky he didn't roll a killing blow and managed to kill that Juve. So because of that, guy goes directly out of action, because in close combat, if you go down, you go automatically out of action on that part. However, the combat between, what's his name, the Flesh Stick as well as Eddie Chance actually kind of went to Brother Grimm's favor. During the charging phase, because he has the body slam skill, he used it, managed to pass the strength test, managed to body slam Eddie Chance. So because that Eddie Chance weapon skill was reduced down to 1, so because of that, when they rolled off again, they both ended up in a draw. So they both kind of be engaged in close combat on the next turn as well. So that makes the combat phase. And with the recovery phase done, because everyone's pretty much out of action, we go directly to top of turn number 3. So this is a photo of the top of turn number 3 after movement phase for the Van Sar, and as you can see, Warlord H pretty much sends up his guys as quickly as possible, trying to hook left and head towards that main office building left-hand side to kind of deal with those Goliaths who are just kind of hiding up there and taking coverage sniping positions right above on the top of the office building. So that pretty much makes the movement on this one. As you can see during the movement phase, pretty much the rest of the pit slaves as well charge directly into Flesh Sticks, and now that guy's fighting 3 different pit slaves in close combat. At the same time, he also moves up 4 inches. Both of his members of his gang, he's got Mega Man as well as Swayze. That guy's also located on the left-hand side there. He just moves up 4 inches, that way they can start shooting in the next turn as well. And over here on the top of the gantry both Tugs as well as Souljacks as well as Busta9, they move up 4 inches as well, so that way they can take up positions from where they're at and start trading shots with the Goliaths and the office buildings. So movement phase over, go directly to the shooting phase. Shooting phase is actually pretty lackluster for the Van Sar. Most of their shots pretty much failed, except for the Flamer attack that Mega Man unleashed with his Flamer onto Rager. Rager managed to put that guy down as well as also inflict wounds. However, that guy is not out of action. He's just down for the moment. When they rolled to see that guy catch fire, they basically rolled a 1, so because that guy's just kind of down, just bleeding out at that point. So with shooting phase over, go directly to the combat phase. And in the combat phase, the slaves had no problem whatsoever putting down Flesh Stick. They move up 2 inches to the other side of that little berm there of barbed wire, and they plan on engaging Rager next, which is pretty bad because if Rager doesn't recover by his next turn, if these guys engage with him in close combat, he automatically goes down. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for the Goliaths. Brother Grimm decides to keep the rest of his gang where they're exactly located at. There is no movement phase, and he's outraged for shooting, so there is no shooting phase. There is no close combat because no one's engaged in close combat, so he goes straight to the recovery phase, and the absolute worst thing starts happening. He starts rolling for recovery. So the very first guy goes down, that is Rager. That guy is now out of action, so that just makes things even worse for his gang. And at the same time, Craze rolls for recovery. He also goes out of action as well, which means that half his gang is now out of action, and 6 of these guys are got to roll off on the serious injury table to see exactly what's going to happen to them. So things are not looking very good for the Pelagos Lambkings. However, there is one good note, and that is Scalp Taker. He manages to get a flesh wound on his recovery, so he manages to stand up, gets -1 to his weapon skill as well as his ballistic skill, but it's kind of like a little too late, too late for the Pelagos Lambkings at this point. And it's at this time that my buddy Brother Grimm decides to battle out voluntarily. Half his guys are have to roll on the serious injury tables, and he just doesn't want to take any more losses than he actually has to for this gang. So because of that, this battle report is now over because battling out took place. So that being said, we're going to go directly to the after action report and talk about the post game for each of these gangs. Let's go ahead and talk about exactly what happened. All right, so let's go talk about the post game for 9/11 for injuries. Basically, 3 guys got injured in this scenario. That was Chopper, Moloko, as well as Nero. Chopper got horrific scars, so now he causes fear whenever he engages someone in close combat and charges at them. At the same time, Moloko actually rolled up survives against the odds and earned 7 experience points on that part, so that's kind of neat. And Nero also made a full recovery as well. For advancements, 3 members of the gang also advancement. Chopper got +1 to his initiative. Souljax got +1 to his wounds, so now that guy's carrying 2. And Mega Man got +1 for his strength. For the territories of the merchant, unfortunately for the 9/11, they only managed to earn 30 credits in profit from the territories. I mean, they don't really got very lucrative territories to begin with, and they didn't roll very well on that part. So because of that, my buddy Warlord Ace, he just spent all 30 credits to rehire Plunkett McLean as well as Eddie Chance. So now those 3 pit slaves will be rolling with him on the next battle report as well. Their current record right now is at 5 wins as well as 4 losses. So finally, 9/11 has broken through the losing streak, and they're actually on the positive for wins now. And their gang rank is at 2,142 points. Alright, so let's go and talk about the Pelago Slam Kings. For their injuries, a lot of the members of their gangs actually got injured. Gage, Rager, Craze, Whack-A-Mole, Fleshstick, as well as Trimp the Shrimp, all 6 guys that are up on the serious injury table. Luckily for Brother Grimm, a lot of his guys actually did very well for their rolls. Gage, as well as Craze, Whack-A-Mole, and Fleshstick, all 4 of those guys rolled full recoveries. Rager, he rolled up the survives against the odds injuries, so he earned 7 additional experience points on top of that, so he's doing very well for himself as well. And then Trimp the Shrimp also got horrible scars, so now he causes fear as well. For advancements, 5 members of the gangs got advancements on this one. Blitzkrieg Bob earned +1 to his ballistic skill, so now he's carrying ballistic skill 6. Stuka got 1 up for his wounds, so now he's carrying 2 wounds. Craze got +1 to his leadership. The Hunter got +1 to his initiative. And Trip the Shrimp, he actually got bulging bicep skills, so he's also +1 on strength now as well. So that's actually doing very good for him. For the merchant, they earned 85 credits, and they decided to put all 85 credits in the stash for later because Brother Grimm plans on saving that up for a major purchase later on for his gang. Their current record now is at 2 wins and unfortunately 7 losses, and their gang rating now is at 2,117 points. So that will do it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. This pretty much wraps up Tales from the Underhive Battle Report number 26. As always, you guys, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Your guys' input is always appreciated. Also, check out our Instagram page as well as our Google Plus page for all the latest and greatest on our hobby. And now we're also got a brand new Facebook page as well. So if you want to leave some comments, drop off some photos of some of the work you guys are doing, post some updates on that page, it'd be awesome to hear from you guys on that medium as well. So once again, Instagram, Google Plus, as well as Facebook. All right, you guys, it's going to wrap up for this one. I am Commander Chiefscape. You guys stay classy. We will see you on the next one.